the feeling of guilt is real because there is all of this comparison going on that you don't necessarily see. Because when we're home and we have a couple minutes, we might be scrolling on social media and we saw that so-and-so just threw the birthday party and it was 10 times as amazing and so many people and the food looked better and all of these sort of things, right? So you don't know what other voices are already coming in that have contributed to that. So for you to come in, it's belittling of the emotions that are going on. So even to ask, hey, what emotions are you feeling around that? What does that mean to you? How can I support you? Hey, have you had any time to yourself lately? How can I support you refueling?
Can you just speak to how that's shown up in the parenting of these young ladies as you're raising them, where it was like the definition of entrepreneurial, and how they were able to not just say, okay, let me run a business or do a startup or something?
Well, it even started as, as owning our own business, seeing like, I want to hire people that have an entrepreneurial spirit. They might not be going out and starting their own business, but they're really building within our business, right? So I want to hire an entrepreneur, somebody that's going to come within and build and take initiative and take risk within this structure. So they don't own their own business, yet they are creating and taking ownership within. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe this definition is much broader than what we've kind of tried to put this peg in the square hole, right? And I started to look at motherhood. I don't know anything that is more entrepreneurial than having children. I mean, talk about initiative and risk and not knowing what the heck you're doing. Like that is, to me, I look at every mother as an entrepreneur because whether or not you consider your household a business, it kind of is. Everything that you do running it day to day is the same as you're taking initiatives, you're taking risks every single day. Raising children is like that. So we wanted to instill in our kids this idea of you can go be whoever you want, but it's not going to come without those traits of initiative and risk. So this isn't about them starting the next Google or building the next whatever, but it is about wherever you are. These are skill sets that we want you to have. And it's gonna entail some failure as a part of it. We want our home to be a safe place for them to fail. We don't want the first time that they experience failure to be when they leave. We want to be able to celebrate failure with them here and debrief it with them and process through it with them in a safe environment, so that when they're not here, they're like, oh, I've been here before. I know what this is like. I can do this again. Because if I did it before, I can do it again.
Well, it's super, super inspiring, Alyce. I mean, I think this is really hitting on just how to be a great parent, how to be a great entrepreneur, and also how to do both simultaneously, which is really, really hard, at least in my experience and from a lot of people that we've had on the podcast and we've chatted with. Help me understand when you look at some of the biggest challenges, especially for moms, right? We're over here as two dads, so we have one perspective. But from the mom's lens, what are the biggest challenges you think that moms are facing, in trying to raise, competent, polite, courteous, but also curious and adventurous kids the way that you have? What are some of the biggest challenges that you think moms are facing right now that you see?
Guilt. Guilt when they're working outside of the home, guilt when they're home, guilt when they choose to put their kids in sports, guilt when they don't put them in sports, guilt when they run through the fast food drive-through line, guilt that they didn't do the organic meal. So there's a lack of definition around what success means, because there's always going to be somebody that did something better in a certain area, and we're picking the best of all of those pieces and continually just feeling bad because there's nobody around us to tell us like, hey, you're winning, because nobody set up that definition. And that definition for me looks different from another mom. And so even to have conversation with moms, where do moms go to have those conversations? I mean, if it's not a mom that you're running into at drop off, at preschool or in the carpool line or at a sports thing, I don't think moms have very much community. So I think there's a support piece for moms that's missing that continues to feed the guilt.
Absolutely.
I'm curious on this, and sorry to interrupt here because you really struck a chord with me, because a lot of times men want to solve the problem. And if the problem is mom guilt and men want to come in and try to solve a problem, it's obviously going to create some tension, because I'm assuming mom guilt is not a problem that a man can solve. Is that a valid assumption?
I don't think single-handedly, but I think that they can be incredibly supportive.
So
And
talk about that, please.
yeah. So one, I think listening and understanding that the guilt is there, not trying to fix the guilt. Oh, well, what? You don't need to feel guilty because she's doing that. Like, but you're doing such a good job. But no. Just listen. Just listen.
I've never said that one.
That's
That's new.
I was like, I think I might have said that last night. Yeah, no. Yeah. Our son just turned 1, the party wasn't big enough, like that kind of, it's like, oh man, yeah,
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
with you.
Social media to make you feel bad. Oh my gosh. Like, hello.
Yeah.
First, just listen.
Yeah, keep going. Keep ramping on this. I'm taking notes.
Just one, empathizing, even if you don't understand fully. Like the feeling of guilt is real, because there is all of this comparison going on that you don't necessarily see. Because when we're home and we have a couple minutes, we might be scrolling on social media and we saw that so-and-so just threw the birthday party and it was 10 times as amazing and so many people and the food looked better and all of these sort of things, right? So you don't know what other voices are already coming in that have contributed to that. So for you to come in, it's belittling of the emotions that are going on. So even to ask, hey, what emotions are you feeling around that? Help me what does that mean to you? How can I support you? Hey, have you had any time to yourself lately? How can I support you refueling? Because I think a lot of moms don't even know how to refuel. They don't know what fuels them, or if it's not a need, it doesn't happen. So
what are some examples of refueling for moms that you've worked with?
I think it can vary, but I think for a lot of them, it's just, we make the jokes about the only time a mom gets to herself is when she's, sitting on the potty or in her car in the driveway. And even then, like, I remember times where my kids would run out the driveway because they'd hear the car coming, or they open the door when I'm in the bathroom. Like, you don't even get those times. So, okay, like, what would you taking some time for you just to go get a cup of coffee and a journal and you go? Or is it that you want to stay home and we all leave, right? Like, what would be more fun for you? Or we plan play dates for our kids. Plan a play date for your wife. Set up for her to go to lunch with girlfriends, right? Call the other guys and say, hey, let's get all of our wives to go to lunch together and we're going to take care of the kids and not complain about it. Or not complain about, oh my gosh, it was so hard and he was so this and the kids were so this. Just do it, and don't, because that's what she deals with all day, every day. And you get a mom who's also working outside of the home, and there's a whole other layer of things, because she's probably working because it's something that she really wants to do and she feels passion towards. And then there's guilt around, well, should I be doing this? Right? Because I remember when I worked and I was breaking even, it wasn't like we were making money from me going to work, but I did it because I loved it. So the guilt that I felt, like, should I just stay home? Because now I'm paying a sitter basically what I'm making. Mm-hmm. So helping her to find success for her in that season. So Carl Jung has a quote, it's actually in the front of my book. I loved it so much. It was part of the epigraph. The greatest burden on a child is the unlived life of a parent. And I think every mom would say, when asked, what do you want for your child? I want my child to be happy. I think we'd all say that. So the question that I ask moms is, when you look at your mom, would you describe your mom as someone who is happy? And the number of times that I just get this like blank stare look of like, no, my mom wasn't happy. My mom was a martyr. My mom just did all the things that needed to be done to keep everything together. Okay, well, that was what was modeled for you. Would your kids describe you as happy? Would your husband describe you as happy? Are you modeling happiness? Because if we're not modeling it, it doesn't matter what we tell them to do. Well, I kids, I just want you to be happy. I'm miserable as heck, but I want you to be happy. It doesn't work. So what does it mean for mom? What does it mean for mom to live a fully lived life? Let's answer that question for mom, because most of them haven't gone there, because they're like, I'm living in the world of shoulds. I should do this. I should do this. I should do this. I should do this. And by the time those shoulds, like the shoulds are still like, there's still a whole list of shoulds. I haven't even gotten through my shoulds yet. So I'm not going to get to living a fully lived life.